Hello, hi, how are you? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Sudsy and this is Sudsy Talks Rugby. Today we're going to be having a look at which team on average had the highest scoring attack in the 2024 season for the international games, just looking at the top 10 teams. Made a video on defence, you can go check that out if you'd like. Going to learn my lesson from that video, spoilers, and going to actually back South Africa to have topped this table. I reckon South Africa will have scored the most amount of points on average throughout the season. They, from memory serves, I think they only scored fewer than 20 points once, and that was against New Zealand. The rest of the games, they were at least in the 20s, if not higher, and I'd say more often than not higher than the 20s, so that's why I'm going to back South Africa to win this. In second place, going to go with Scotland. The middle of the Scottish season was pretty grand. Like, they had a load of games out in the States and, the Americas in general, playing the likes of Uruguay and everyone that are just, I think, a level below where Scotland are. So, because of that reason, I'm going to back Scotland to probably come second in this. And then third is Argentina, mostly due to the fact that I think when Argentina win games, which they do quite well and quite often, it's usually because they've outscored you rather than out defended you. So just like off the top of my head, the win against South Africa was a high scoring game, and the wins against Australia were high scoring as well. So yeah, I'm going to back Argentina to come third in this. But anyway, I'm going to go off, do the research, and I'll get back to you with the results. Cool, I've gone off and had a look at all the games played, worked out all the averages for who had the best scoring attack in 2024. But before we have a look at that, just a quick look back on how the year ended. We have South Africa number one, Ireland, New Zealand, France, Argentina rounding out the top five, and then followed by Scotland, England, Australia, Fiji, and Italy. Five north, five south, which is always good to see. We don't want, maybe we want one team dominating, pretending on your personal preferences, but it's good to see that people all around the world are playing the game and playing pretty well. So without further ado, let's get into the results. So close. I was close. I got Scotland and South Africa mixed up. Scotland outscored teams better than South Africa did by about 1.5 points. But we'll go into each of them in more depth now. So we're going to start from the bottom. So starting off from the bottom, we have Italy. Italy on average scoring 22.9 points a game, so pretty much 23, and they're 10th in this list, they're 10th in the world rankings. They played 11 games and won 5 this year, which is pretty good. However, when you break it down, they only played 6 of those games against the top 10 and won one of them. 1.5 if you count the draw against France as a half. The only big score they put on team this year was against Japan with 42 points. So that's kind of what put them towards the bottom of this list, but that's where they are in the world rankings, so maybe that's about right. Moving on to Australia. Australia on average scored 25.8 points a game, so pretty much 26, and they're one place down from their world ranking positioning, but that's okay considering if you're an Australian fan looking back on the year, you're much happier with how it finished than how it started, with a great November run up here in the Northern Hemisphere. 2 from 4, pretty good, pushed Ireland very, very hard, so I'd say that would be a fairly happy game and good confidence for the team and for Schmidt, who are building for this Lions tour. They played 13 games this season, won 6, so nearly half of them. But when you break it down to just top 10 games, they played 9 of them and only won 2. So that was, again, towards the end of the year, they managed to get the win over England, which was great. Couldn't quite get over the line against Scotland or Ireland, but as I said, pushed Ireland pretty hard. The big scores they put on this year were against Georgia with 40, Wales with 52 at the end of the year. They played them a few times at the start of the year and put decent scores on them, but at the end of the year, 52 points, pretty big. And then England, again, at the end of the year, 43. So second half of the year was definitely a big scoring time of the year for Australia. Moving on to kind of a surprising position, Ireland, who are 6 places down from their normal world rankings from 2nd to 8th, scoring only 27.1 points a game, which, as an Irish fan, kind of disappointing. However, the Irish team only played top 10 teams except for the game they played against Wales. So maybe not too surprising. Maybe they didn't have any, more broadened fixtures, like more distance between teams where you'd expect to put a bigger score on. The only big score they did put on was against Fiji with 52 points. So the farthest team they played from, that was Wales, who were ranked 11th and put in the 30s on them, I think it was. So no massive scores from Ireland, so kind of explains why they're low on the list here. Going up, we're on to Fiji. We're actually up 2 places in the world ranking, scoring an average of 27.6 points a game, so a little bit more than Ireland, but that's all it takes to get up into the next spot. They played 11, won 8, but again, against top 10 teams, they only played 3 of those games. They won 0 of them, and it's where they tended to concede the most amount of points. But their big scores this year were against Samoa with 42 and Tonga with 50. So putting up a good show. Great attacking flair from the Fijians as always, so have to see how they kick on in 2025. Moving on to 6th with England, 1 place up actually in the world rankings, and scoring an average of 28.3 points a game. They played 12 games this year and won 5 of them, and out of those, against the top 10, they played 9 of the games, only won 2 of them. However, they beat Ireland in the Six Nations, which was fairly impressive, so you got to take that. And they also beat Italy in the Six Nations as well, so maybe that was more the start of last year, so maybe they need to have a bit of a reflection on beating other teams in the top 10, the teams they want to be beating, and I'm sure they'll be very much looking forward towards this Six Nations to really put an end to any of the bad talk going around maybe about Borthwick or whatever, and he's put an end to it all. The only big scores they put on this year were against Japan. They played them twice and beat them by 52 points and then 59 points. So they beat Japan pretty convincingly, but they didn't beat anyone else, in my opinion, particularly convincingly. On to 5th, kind of surprised there in 5th is New Zealand, scoring on average 30.8 points a game, down 2 positions from their world rankings. Played 14, won 10, so pretty good win rate, and 13 out of the 14 games they played were against top 10 teams, and they did win 9, including a good few wins in the Rugby Championship, a lot of wins in November. I think the only team they didn't beat was France. They lost by a point or 2, so good game. But their big scores were against Fiji with 47, Argentina with 42, and Japan with 64. Moving on, with France in their actual world ranking position in 4th, scoring on average 31.2 points a game, so only slightly more than New Zealand. But anyway, their big scores were against Wales with 45, Uruguay with 43, and Japan with 52. So France, all in all, had a good year, won 8 out of their 11 games in 24, so they'll be looking forward to kick on for the Six Nations and try stop Ireland from going 3 in a row, which I'm pretty sure would be the first time it would have ever happened since it became the Six Nations. I think it may have happened probably when it was the 5 or the 4 nations. So they're looking to kick on and take the crown, just like most other teams are. Right, on to 3rd. The one prediction I did get right, Argentina in 3rd, scoring on average 32.25 points a game, which I think is fairly impressive, up 2 places from the world ranking, as I was thinking. When they win, they outscore you. They don't out-defend you. If they got their defence sorted, they'd be an even more impressive team. So I imagine that's a good work on for the year, and something they'll be looking forward to working towards the Rugby Championship this year, 2025. But yeah, 32.25 points a game, pretty impressive. They only won half their games this year, so you can take that as you want. They have a tough season. Like, they played the November series, they were playing tough games, and the Rugby Championship is always going to be tough. Their big scores were actually huge. With Uruguay, they scored 79 points on, and Australia they put 67 points on in the championship, so they were pretty massive scores to be laying down. So watch out if you're playing Argentina. They have the capacity to run and play the ball and score an awful lot of points. On to 2nd place, who I was close to predicting correctly, scoring an average 34.6 points a game. down a place in the world rankings, because when you're number one, it's the only way you can go. Played 13, won 11, which is equal to their best season ever, if I'm not mistaken. And out of 13 games they played, 10 of them were against the top 10, and they won 8 of those. They put massive scores on Portugal with 64, Argentina with 48, and Wales with 45. So that was very impressive. And if you actually look at all their scores, I was correct. They only were under 20 points once in that game against New Zealand, scoring 18, so nearly getting over 20. So yeah, every time they set foot on the pitch, they scored an awful lot of points. Even in the games they lost, they scored a lot of points. Like the loss to Ireland was by a point, and they scored 24 of them. And then the loss to Argentina, I can't remember what the results were, but I remember it being a high scoring game. And then on to our winners of Scotland. So when I was making my predictions, I thought they'd be in second, but nope, they did one better and went all the way to first. Played 13 games this year and won 9 of them, and scoring a massive 36.2 points a game, and they're up 5 positions from their actual world ranking. So their attack must be speaking a lot louder than their defence perhaps, or maybe this year was just a good year for them. They had some massive scores in the summer series, as I kind of expected, when they're going out and playing teams that are maybe at a bit of a lower calibre than they are at the moment, putting 73 on Canada and 52 on Chile. So yeah, they are your average points scored for each team in the games in 2024. Just have one more thing to show you. I took out all the games that weren't against other top 10 teams to see if that would shake up the list a bit, and it does. South Africa go to the top as per usual, scoring an average of 30, and then New Zealand also shoot up quite a bit from where I had them originally. So there you go. Argentina still in third, so it shows it doesn't matter who they're playing, they're gonna put a good few points on you. Ireland are another team that go up the list quite a bit with this. This again, I reckon, is because Ireland didn't play any teams that were particularly out of their bracket. Like they played 1 through 11 this year, so they didn't maybe have a chance to put up some massive scores except for that game against Fiji. So they didn't play Uruguay or Chile or anything this year. So yeah, that would be kind of why they shoot up this list more so than other people. It's more so other people going down than them shooting up. Scotland take quite the fall here, going from 1st to 5th. Again, most of their big scoring games were in the summer, and they were against teams that are not in the top 10, so they couldn't be counted. France is a little lower than I was expecting. Yeah, France were a little bit lower than expecting. Just that French flair, kind of expect them to score more, but they've Dupont back now, so probably going to be climbing this list next time I make it. And then other than that, it's kind of steady she goes until you look at Fiji, only scoring 13 points a game when they're playing top 10 teams. So Fiji need to start scoring a lot more points when they're playing the big dogs, and then they'll well and truly earn their seat at the table. Anyway, that's that. That's all the averages. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Let me know what I should be doing differently, what I should be doing, whatever. Leave a like, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.